Hey YouTube, welcome back. This build has so much potential for pushing it further and further and further, getting sweet legendary items, and min-maxing the crap out of it. But I think it's in an appropriate state right now to show you and then talk about the build. So this is something I've been working on for a couple days now. It's Healing Hands. If you've seen the other videos on YouTube, you know roughly what's going on here. TLDR, Healing Hands is sweet. We convert it to a melee attack. We have it proc off of every melee attack. We use Rive because it's cozy, it's fun, and it's nice and fast. Holy Aura does some stuff. Volatile Reversal is the best skill in the game. And Sigils of Hope also does some stuff. Alright, let's go show you what the build looks like first. You'll notice at the very beginning of the Echo that my health was nice and low, and then as I kill a couple monsters, it goes nice and high. And you'll also see that my ward skyrockets. So let's talk about what's happening real quick. I have an affix on my piece of gear, on my gloves. It says missing health loss per second, or health loss per second, and then a percentage of my missing health gained is ward per second. We call it like the exsanguinous modifier, or the low life modifier, whatever you want to call that. But it's an experimental affix that drops from the exiled mage. You can also use a glyph of insight to put it onto a piece of gear, but that's kind of min-maxy, so don't worry about that yet. But Healing Hands tries to heal you, but because of multiplayer and EHG not wanting you to grief your teammates, they added a line of text into Healing Hands that says, hey, if a player has an affix that says that, instead of healing them, give them ward instead. So Healing Hands looks at my character and it says, oh, you're a ward build, aren't you? All right, instead of healing you, I'm going to give you some ward. Zoop. So that ward, it goes pretty high. If you've seen the other videos that we have on YouTube, you know that if you channel this, you can get substantially more ward. But if you don't channel it, you can have substantially more fun. So the TLDR of this build is we are a melee, fire, crit, Healing Hands build. We attack with Rive. We proc Healing Hands on every single attack, which is neat. We build a lot of melee attack speed. We want to go crit, so we're going to build some base critical strike chance in all the places that we can, as well as scaling some increased critical strike chance. All of our damage, the vast majority of our damage is coming from Healing Hands, not from Rive. And Healing Hands scales flat damage based off of healing effect. So in my build, for example, on the other tab, you'll see that my healing effect is, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 1228. Cool. We have 1228 healing effect. I suspect my endgame version of this build is going to have like 1200 or 14, maybe 1400 or so. If you want to play this build yourself, I would aim for about 1000 healing effect. I think that's a good place to be. Like 600 healing effect. You're going to be like, oh no, where's my healing effect? But you'll get more, so don't worry about it. Got this thing. Alright, so that is roughly speaking what's going on in the build. I'm going to show you a couple of things here, and you'll see what's going on. So I am trying to get a sword. We're using either a sword or an axe for this particular character to scale my melee fire crit character here. We're using a sword or axe to take advantage of the Blade Master node. Blade Master gives us attack and cast speed if we're holding one of those things. We need base critical strike chance. I had been using some something like this that has base melee critical strike chance and exalted melee attack speed. You could use something like this because this Eagle Wing has a implicit modifier of 4 critical strike chance, kind of juicing it up. Even like this, even though Healing Hands converts its healing into ward, it still has this secondary effect where it gives you like healing, lingering warmth over the next 3 seconds. That lingering warmth does not convert to ward. So I have no leech in this build whatsoever. So my health will still shoot back up when I start attacking monsters because that lingering warmth will heal me. So I look low on health right now, but you shoot up to, 10,000 ward and full life after like a second of attacking an enemy, which is very cool. We don't use leech. We can use a Peak of the Mountain. Peak of the Mountain has that you cannot leech, but it gives you a ton of percent increased critical strike chance. And that's a great way to get the flat from the weapon, the percent from this, in order to get our crit chance a little bit higher. My face is in the way, but our crit chance right now is 101 critical strike chance. Maybe a separate scene. I'm just going to hide my face. 101 critical strike chance when my Holy Aura is up. 94 critical strike chance when my Holy Aura is down. We are a melee build with scaling melee damage. That means that we can use things like Doom. Remember, Doom says enemies take 4% increased damage. If you're a Path of Exile player, you know that percent increased damage taken is very similar to more damage. So it's not strictly speaking more damage because we're using the best skill in the game and we already have 60% increased damage taken on the enemies here. So it goes from 60% increased damage taken to 76% increased damage taken. And sometimes more than that, but that's a different story. The belt combos well with this because it gives 20% more damage. It's 5% more per stack of Doom. 5 times 4 is 20. On our rings, we'd like to have healing effects. My rings are garbage, so ignore them. But things like healing effect and fire damage are your prefix modifiers there. And your amulets, you want melee attack speed in as many places as you can possibly get it. And then healing effect fire damage would be nice there as well. For the relic, you want this one. This particular base is a solar commandment. It has fire damage and healing effects with a tier 7 healing effect on it. Your suffixes, just fill in like your resistances and your crit avoid wherever you want. We have 2,400 health right now, but we also often have 10 to 20,000 ward. So on this particular build, I actually have not built any endurance at all. Normally, I would say that if you're building health, you ought to build endurance as well. But with this much ward, I'm not really worried about it. So I've forsaken my ward, and it's only at 20% here. I'm using Atera's Path because it has a bunch of movement speed, and it also has healing effect on it. Ideally, you'd have double movement speed on your Atera's Path, which is to say 1 LP with like exalted movement speed on it. Because Sentinels are kind of slow, and it's always nice to have double movement speed boots. Double movement speed boots refers to a unique item that has movement speed on it, and then you LP more movement speed on it, so that's good. There's a couple of interesting options for LP items all over the place. Like, you could use an Eye of Reen. For example, you could use... let's find this thing real quick so I can show it off. You could use something like this, an Eye of Reen with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 LP. As long as you get the base, the plus melee critical strike chance, that'd be a great choice for your crit melee fire build. I think that's the only one-handed weapon that I'm really looking forward to. Otherwise, just like a normal exalted thing is fine. For shields, you have lots of cool options. There's a couple spicy ones that I'll throw your way real quick. I'll load up letools.com real quick. Let's click this. For shields, you can consider... I'm going to bring my face back. Hello, welcome back. You can consider Fire Araye's Light. This has increased healing effect and fire damage on it. It's a good DPS shield. You could also consider something like Bulwark of the Last Abyss. This thing has lots of block chance, and it gives melee crit multi all the time, which is awesome. I like melee crit multi on my crit build that has 100% crit chance. And the other option that you might consider is a of the mountain, whatever it's called, Face of the Mountain. This is a nice way of getting 100% block chance with building endurance percent. So like a 1 or 2 LP Face the Mountain with tier 7 block chance. If it's 2 LP, you go like block chance and percent endurance as a suffix. Or if you have 3 LP, for some reason, you can go like block chance, percent endurance, and healing effect. And that would be completely insane. So we have lots of scaling left to go for this particular character here. My gear is fine. We're doing 300 corruption right now because I've re-rolled 4 times. Maybe you have too. If you have, sorry, me too. I wasted a lot of time re-rolling, but we fixed our blessings. We're looking for crit multi from the Black Sun, but we got a little bit of lightning res, a little bit of crit avoidance. Our fire shred is coming from Spirits of Fire and Age of Winter here. And the last thing to really show off is like the kinds of blessings you're looking, or sorry, the kinds of idols you're looking for. We have more armor, more fire damage coming in from Throne of Ambition. This is like, I call this mandatory. It's pretty flipping good. But there's lots of good affixes on your 2x2 idols. For your prefix on your idol, you're looking for healing effects because it goes up to 95. Holy smokes. As your suffixes, things like block effects, it's fine for defense. Armor shred on melee hits, and shred armor on hit with fire skills because healing hands is a fire. Oh, healing hands isn't a fire skill. I forgot that healing hands. I think it's a bug. I'm pretty sure it's a bug. Healing hands doesn't actually get the fire tag. Oh, all right. Don't wait. Use this one. Don't use this one. There's another suffix modifier that you could do, which is like the healing effect as the prefix, and then as a suffix you would do percent increased melee fire damage, which would be a great way of getting even more percent increased damage on the skill. So Leveling as this build, if you are a new player and you're asking yourself, can I level this build even if I don't have these sweet unique items? Yes, because this was a buttery smooth leveling experience. I started playing Rive as soon as I got Rive with a big two-handed weapon at level 5. As soon as I got Healing Hands around like level 19 or 20, I spec'd into Healing Hands, and I rushed the node that said Healing Hands proccing on melee hits, and then I took all the damage modifiers, and then I grabbed the node for Seraph Blade, which converts it into a melee attack as well. For the rest of the mastery, you're basically grabbing everything that says healing effects, so all of those nodes, a little bit of movement speed at the very top here, and some penetration at the very bottom. 5 points in a Void Knight to give you Volatile Reversal, 1 point here because you're using a shield, if you want to use a shield. If you want to dual wield, that's on you. And then in the skills, I'll briefly talk about these particular things. I'm going to hide my face once again so that you can see exactly what's going on here. On Rive, we're making it attack as fast as possible, and we're using the second hit pull. We're going crit. We also get another 100% increased critical strike chance by taking the Adrenaline node here. Before you ask, is Vengeance better? Yeah, on paper it is. Vengeance gives you 2 separate less damage taken modifiers, and it gives you a global 20% more damage multiplier. On the other hand, Rive is way more fun, and it gives you 100 crit, and it gives you the second hit pull, and the second hit pull is an incredible amount of quality of life. Try both. Try to convince yourself that Vengeance is better. It is better, but Rive is way more fun. So we're a Rive build. Holy Aura, we're using some Flame Burst up on the top right for some extra quality of life for clearing monsters quickly. Then some penetration, some crit chance, and attack speed. Volatile Reversal, as much cooldown as possible. Movement speed, attack speed on the bottom left node for increased damage taken. Sigils, we have the block chance because we're using a shield. If you opt to do a dual wield, just drop these. And then a bunch of points into healing per active sigil on the bottom left. For Healing Hands, it's pretty basic skill tree. All 4 points into Cleric's Hammer to make it proc on melee attack. All the more damage multipliers over here. Convert it here. Divine Bolt, it looks funny at first glance because this only works on direct cast, but the second paragraph of text on Divine Catalyst says that Divine Bolt is affected by this tree, which means we can take 1 point in the Paladin skill tree in Divine Bolt, and all of these procs get scaled by what's going on in the Healing Hands skill tree here with these couple more damage multipliers. It's a very nice addition. The last thing that I will tell you is the ward stuff that we talked about at the very beginning of this video comes from Divine Barrier. Frankly, if the ward stuff didn't work at all, if it literally generated 0 ward, I would still call this build very good. This build's so much fun to play. Good damage, good scaling. The ward might be a little bit too much. We'll see if it gets nerfed at some point. I think the channeling ward probably ought to be nerfed. I've seen like a lot of ward get generated off of that, including from myself. But yeah, this node is where our ward is currently coming from in conjunction with our glove modifier, the missing health thing there. But the last thing I'll tell you is that these 3 points here are insane. This is important to talk about as long as we can cover this, right? So this is 3 out of 4 points. I would put 4 out of 4 points. I currently have +3 to Healing Hands. If you get +4, the last point goes into this. So these nodes literally double how much ward you get to generate. Normally, if I take these 3 nodes out and I attack a bunch of dummies in the arena, I generate 8,000 ward. Cool. If I put these 3 points in, my ward goes to like 17,000 instead. So instead of 8,000, it goes to like 17,000. It's like a little bit more than doubling how much ward I can generate with my current gear and whatnot. The upfront healing, I guess it like what is this? Yeah, all healing is converted to ward. Sure. These nodes, they're kind of sneaky, aren't they? They just sneak up on you. Like a little bit of upfront healing, but it gets converted to ward, and it doubles how much ward you get. So if you're wondering why don't I have more ward, what happened? This is what you're missing. So plus levels to Healing Hands, +2, +3, +4, really kicks it into overdrive with how much ward you can get. Technically, you could generate even more ward if you dropped some nodes somewhere, because you could take Urgent Healing, and you could also take 3 points into Guardian's Chant, which says the ward per second is equal to a portion of the ward granted from ward granted up front by the other nodes in the tree. Yeah, if you could like take both of these nodes, you'd have like hundreds of thousands of ward. Maybe 100,000 ward, maybe just 100,000 ward. But for our particular build, we're using it for damage, so we're taking the more damage multipliers over here, and then 3 points in this to top everything off. We're going to have more videos on this build in the future because it's so good and I like it so much. But if you're playing Healing Hands like this, or with spell damage, or crit, or non-crit, or maybe spell, maybe electrify, let me know. I would love to see what you're doing with Healing Hands. It feels like you had the Warlock released at the very beginning of the patch. You had the Falconer released at the very beginning of the patch. And by the way, we also have Healing Hands. It's like, whoa, what's that? Healing Hands? Healing what? What's that? What's in your mouth? Open your mouth. Open your mouth right now. EHG. You can't just slip Healing Hands in there, buddy. Healing Hands is so good. All right, we're gonna keep playing it. We're gonna keep pushing some corruption here. Only at 300 right now because we basically started late because we re-rolled so many times. But this build has been a blast. It seems to be entertaining people here on Twitch. I can't get enough of it. It's probably my new favorite melee skill in the game. I don't know if that last part's saying much, but it is a very fun skill. So fuck it. I'll see you next time.